Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark. And I will say, I don't know if y'all knew, but the Indiana Jones pretty dope. Did you know that?
Yeah.
Dope. Welcome to List. This is a show where we pluck out a name out of our all-time watch list, watch and review for your viewing pleasure. I'm host, Enterprise, with me as sometimes my bloodline.
Douche.
Le douche. The movie we are scratching off the list today is the 1981 Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark. In 1936, archaeologist and adventurer Indiana Jones is hired by the U.S. government to find the Ark of the Covenant before the Nazis can obtain its awesome power. I have a confession to make, y'all.
What?
I'd never seen Indiana Jones before, never.
Never in life?
I never done what I did for the list. That's why I was on the list. My first real encounter of Indiana Jones was the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
Oh, damn.
Without actually sitting down and processing the entirety of the rest of the movies.
But you have a knowledge that existed, right?
I know that obviously everybody in the world knows who Indiana Jones is. But I never sat down and watch them and consume them as they're supposed to be. Yes, sometimes you'll catch one halfway through on TV or whatever. And this franchise is so iconic that there's so many parts from it, like the ball, the snakes. Name a scene from these movies. It's iconic. The way my brain works, it all jumbles into one thing, and I did not know which one belonged to which. And I will say, I don't know if y'all knew, but the Indiana Jones pretty dope. Did you know that?
Yeah.
Dope. Some cool notes. We got very young, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed Doc Ock in this one. Alfred Molina is in the beginning. He's the first guy to die. Smalls' mama plays Marion. Shout-outs to Smalls. Which, by the way, Marion, as a female character, is almost like perfect. I feel like Marion doesn't get talked enough as being like one of the best female characters ever. She's a great example of pushing boundaries and doing stuff her way because she's always told to stay back. She never listens.
Yeah.
and she helps Indy in great believable ways. Not doing crazy like catching him in the arm and like pulling her like no. Believable ways. And she's fighting. Yeah. You know, she shoots a guy in the back of the head. She does all these things. You're like, oh,
she's like independent. Like she's
her own thing.
Yeah.
She's 100% her own character. And I think that we don't. I love the character Marion. The actor was great. The character is great because they balanced perfectly. She's never a damsel in distress. It's more like I'm gonna hop in this plane. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm gonna try to do my best to save Indy. Oh well, I got stuck in the cockpit. He needs to save me, right? But I saved him already.
She looks a lot like Lois Lane from the first Superman. I thought she was her, man.
No, man, it's Smalls' mama.
Yeah.
John Rhys Davies ended up playing Sala, who he was great as well. He has this great presence. He's big. His voice is so boisterous. I liked him a lot. And he later on went to go play Gimli in the Lord of the Rings movies. But did you know, douche, that Danny DeVito was actually casted to play Sala?
No, I didn't know.
He was very excited to play it, but for whatever reason, he had to drop out. But is there a more perfect casting than Harrison Ford as Indiana Jones?
No, I don't think so.
I think he's a better Indiana Jones than he is Han Solo, and it's kind of the same guy.
Yeah, I recognize him more from Indy than Han Solo.
Do you?
Yeah.
Well, that's just the kind of 80s kid you are.
No, because Indy, he's his own movie in this one, and in Star Wars, he's just another character, you know?
Harrison Ford as Indiana Jones is probably top 5 best castings of all time, without a doubt. But did you know, douche, that early talks had Tom Selleck as Indiana Jones?
I don't see him in.
You don't like that one?
No.
He was basically already casted, but he couldn't do it due to him booking Magnum P.I.
Imagine Indy with mustache? Nah.
He could do it.
He's iconic with a mustache, you know?
He's iconic without it, right? Ultimately, they went with Ford. But Lucas was very hesitant to cast Ford since Ford had already starred in American Graffiti and Star Wars that were both Lucas's films before this. So he was like, again, this guy? Spielberg said, he's it. He's so good that you forget his other roles. The more I was watching it, the more I was like, Indy's kind of like Batman. And then at times he would give me 007 vibes.
Well, he's poor.
He's a nerdy professor by day.
Yeah, he's a nerd, yeah.
And at night, he's a thrill-seeking archaeologist, you know? Mm-hmm. And at times, with the Mijas, I was getting so many Bond vibes. And I made this note without realizing that George Lucas and Spielberg have an insane amount of love for the Bond films. And they were highly inspired by them. And you can totally make sense. Spielberg wanted to make a Bond film. And Lucas was like, well, I don't necessarily have a Bond film, but I do have this one adventure about the archaeologists, and just start going off. And they're like, okay. So throughout the whole franchise, there's a lot of Bondness to it.
No, I don't see it, man.
You don't see Bond? No. With the ladies?
I mean, probably with the ladies, but not like, I mean, Bond's more techie, more, he's an agent. He's just a professor. I mean, Dr. Jones has like a kind of like a double life, you know?
Yes. Also, the original name for the movies was Indiana Smith.
What the?
Exactly. That's the same thing that Spielberg said. He didn't like it, which prompted Lucas to suggest Jones. Similar to Bond and Batman, I feel like the Indiana Jones silhouette is iconic as well. Of course, when you do Spielberg or Lucas, you have to throw in John Williams' music, which is iconic. It's fantastic. Wait. I can't picture any more perfect everything to it. Like the Indiana Jones, the whole thing as a whole is perfect. The casting, the outfits, the music, all that screams indie. So the movie takes place in 1936, douche, which I never sat down and actually thought that. But the sets are amazing of these temples, and it's just brilliant.
And it was back then, it was the 80s. So imagine that movie in these times.
Yeah.
Kind of.
The very first iconic scene is the idol switch, and then eventually the rock scene, or the boulder scene. It's like in the first 5 minutes.
Yeah. And you say, "Whoa, this is the start of the movie." You say, I mean, the whole movie's gonna be like this.
Yeah. It's very fast paced, and that's what all the rest of the movies of the franchise also do. They like have you in the middle of another story. He's kind of like completing another mission, and then the new one starts.
Kind of like Mission Impossible start like that.
Kind of like 00.
Stupido. No, I don't see it, man.
You don't see Bond?
The funny stuff that happens, you know, the comedy, and it's more like, it's not like telling jokes, but like
something funny happening.
Yeah, something funny happening. Yeah,
like when all the girls are falling for him in the classroom.
Yeah,
and they're all and they all go by and sneak, and they're leaving notes. Did you catch the guy giving him an apple?
Yeah,
LGBT too, man. Everything represented, man.
And his boss gets the apple. And he's yelling to the guy in the first scene. Shop, start the plane. Start the plane.
Start the engine. Get it up.
And I like the sound. This very iconic. I don't know if you noticed the sound when they're fighting. The sound is very iconic, but indie. I heard in no other movie than these ones.
Because they also use that as almost as an instrument to follow with the music too. Another iconic indie thing is very much the map showing where they're going to go, right? It wasn't necessarily created by indie. It was also used in the movies before that, like Casablanca as well. But they definitely take something that already existed and made it their own. And they did it so much that people know it more from indie now. Once he gets to Cairo, there's another great fight. And of course, there's the iconic sword versus gun scene. Actually, everybody, the whole crew, while they were in Cairo, everybody was getting food poisoning. It was so bad throughout the crew. There's even a famous deleted scene with John Rhys Davies, who plays Salah, where he gets captured by the Nazis or whatever, and during the take he himself. Ford was also going through the sickness, and that was a thing because the whip, there's a whip and he's got the swords, and it was just not looking right because Ford couldn't give what the scene needed. And he suggested to Spielberg, and they did it, and they're like, it's perfect. And you can even see now, knowing that if you watch it, his face of agony. He's like, You know, he hides it behind. Indy's like, whatever, right?
Yeah.
But even a couple scenes after that, you can see him really, really struggling. You know, when you watch an old movie, there's cheese, and I couldn't find no cheese at all. But this is just Spielberg being timeless as always, man. Like,
he's great at telling stories, man.
they managed to kill a traitorous monkey, and it wasn't cheesy way. I was like, yeah, that's what you get, you little
Yeah. Cheap monkey.
you fucking traitorous monkeys,
I
man.
forgot about the monkey, yeah.
Pinche ponedero.
See, but Indy was suspicious about the monkey too.
Yeah, he didn't like the monkey from the beginning, and he definitely doesn't like snakes. That's iconic as well. Snakes. Why did it have to be snakes?
Yeah. He's not afraid of anything, just snakes.
Just he has one weakness, which is great because he can't just be cool. Every character now is I'm just no matter what. But Indy, he has flaws. He's scared of snakes, and that holds weight. And you can use that for other scenes to make other scenes be important. And of course, Lucas and Spielberg know that with storytelling, so they just know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Half the time, some other times they really iffy. During the airplane propeller fight, Ford actually torn a ligament in his knee.
Damn.
Really bad, but he just got up, bandaged it, and kept going.
He was doing his own stunts.
Some of them, yeah.
Yeah.
At the Well of Souls scene, if you freeze frame during that scene, you can notice one of the golden pillars have a tiny engraving of R2-D2 and C-3PO from Star Wars saga. I did find it weird when Marion kissed Salah goodbye. She was like, this is for your kids.
Yeah.
This is for whoever, and this is for you. And she kisses him.
Yeah.
Isn't he married with kids? And
So?
that was like a long kiss. I
She
was
was
like,
friendly, man. She said
wow.
he helps her. He helps them.
I was a little weird. Would your wife want a friendly lady to be kissing you like that? No.
Maybe I save her ass. Yeah.
Did you catch the fly? This has been legendary now too. Paul Freeman, who plays Belloc, eats a fly. When Indy's at the top of the mountains and he's threatening them with the RPG, there's a fly that flies in Homeboy's mouth and he eats it.
Yeah.
Yeah. You didn't see that?
No, I saw a fly, but I didn't catch
He
it.
went in his mouth and he actually ate it. Oh, well. That's real acting, man. Not letting
Yeah.
that stupid fly bother you. You're just going to eat it. Eventually, the Nazis get the Ark of the Covenant and open it, and everybody starts dying. And the way the face melts is iconic as well. I feel like even movies today can't do stuff that good, VFX that good. And it was done by Industrial Light and Magic, and they had a whole
Down.
Down. Un pinche monito ahí, güey.
Mannequin.
Yeah, they had a whole mannequin with a face and stuff. And the way that they did it and the way stuff melts off is so visceral, and it still translates 40-something years later, man. It's great. At the very end of the movie, this is another thing that I knew about the movie, but I didn't know who it belonged to. They have the infinite vault
Oh, yeah.
that the United States is just hoarding.
Yeah, you say, what? Right
Yeah, like you just, it gets your mind going. What the hell do they got in there? But like I said, I didn't understand whose vault it was. I thought that was the Nazis. Like, I just didn't know, but now finally watching it, it's like, USA, number one. I think it goes without saying that Indiana Jones is the best adventure movie of all time. It created iconic scenes, iconic characters that's going to live on forever. And again, that's the power of Spielberg. But speaking of Spielberg, did you know that Joss' most famous line in the movie was ad-libbed? Well, I'll tell you that and much, much more on our Jaws episode of The View, episode of The List that I'll leave for you right over here, along with the full series of The List. Make sure you go and check that out. Thank you guys for watching. And remember, to always and forever, you do you.